Good evening, Thunderf00t. Before I even have a chance to finish answering your last question, here you come along with yet another one. This is a response to the question that you posed in your video, Subtle Art of Self-Delusion. In this video, you comment on the feedback you have been getting lately from your videos, expressing once again how you have been misunderstood. And you ask why people think that Islam should get a special pass against harsh criticism. Well, I must admit that when I watched your previous video, The Real Threat from Islam, the one where you asked what is the best way to reduce the number of practicing Muslims and introduce technology into the Islamic world, the devil inside me immediately brought this to mind.
I say we take off and nuke the entire site from orbit. It's the only way to be sure.
But of course, I knew full well that's not what you meant, although it is now apparent that I was not the only one that had this thought. And I do find it curious that so many would confuse encouraging science and reason in an area of the world plagued by a religious dark age with dropping the very latest precision ordnance on it from a high altitude. It is sad to say that I find this quite humorous and disturbing at the same time. But anyway, on to your question. Why should Islam get a special pass against harsh criticism? Well, quite frankly, it shouldn't. It should get the exact self-same treatment that being one of contempt as any other bullshit notion, and this brings us round to the question for you, Thunderf00t. Why haven't you been doing that? From your audience's point of view, you appear to have been attacking the symptoms with very little regard for the illness. Yes, we know that Islam is barbaric, and that it stifles scientific inquiry, and that it insists on strict adherence to its mangled notions of morality, and that it aims to take over the world. We just need to turn on the TV, read a paper, or subscribe to Pat Condell's channel for that. You mention your Why People Laugh at Creationist series, and you ask why people find these funny and acceptable, but somehow this is not the case for your latest work, even though you insist that what you are doing is just the same as before. Well, that's probably because a great portion of your audience, myself sadly included, do not think that what you are doing is the same as what you did before. In that series, you attacked the lunacy and inconsistency of the creationist dogma, picking out and highlighting the pure harebrained fantasies and deluded denial of reality, and it was brilliant. Each one was an utter joy to watch. One by one, you tore into icons to the god of stupidity without mercy, locking horns with the likes of Venom Fang X, or PCS as you called him on the way. You expose the bullshit of Kent Hovind, Kirk Cameron, Ray Comfort, and so many more, and we subscribe to you by the thousand, but your more recent work is different. For me, it started with a bunch of nutters trying to censor South Park. Your video on the matter seemed to me to be very different. You were profoundly adversarial and threatening, boasting about the military might of the West and the technological advances here in the developed world, stating that the continued existence of the Muslim world was the result of our mercy. You continued like this all the way through Draw Mohammed Day, and your tone hasn't really changed since. Well, at least up until your Real Threat of Islam video, where everyone thought you were saying this.
I say we take off and nuke the entire site from orbit. It's the only way to be sure.
And can you really blame them? In essence, it's what you appear to have been saying for a while now. I will not be alone in saying that what your audience has been hoping for, what we still hope for now, and what we urge you to consider, is a return to your original way of doing things. We long for you to tell us all about all those fucked up things that those crazily Muslims take as fact, because they are told to by their deluded imams. We yearn for you to point out how the whole book of muddles got put together in the first place, and how those original men of God were not the pictures of piety that history would have us believe. And we will adore you for it. We will suck it up like a calf on a cow's udder, and we will defend you for it every step of the way. And you never know, you might pick up another nemesis of the same pedigree and competence as Sean along the way, and we all love how you respond to a nemesis. You see, there's an important part of your Why Do People Laugh At Creationist series that I guess that in all this retrospection you haven't picked up on, and it's right there staring you in the face. It's the fourth word in the title, laugh. People love a good laugh, but as we know, Islam doesn't. You only need to ask Phil Hellenes about that. You used to make videos that made us all laugh, but for a while now you have made videos that call us to arms, and that is something your audience just isn't comfortable with. We all want you to bring the old Thunderf00t back, and sadly that's something that only you could do. I, for one, look forward to his return.